Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk Bible. I'm Sonny Childs. All right, guys, this is kind of like the second half. Last time, you might recall, we were looking at that subject of why even keep the Old Testament in our Bibles? What point does it have? And I suggested to you last time that we're actually going to find in this next context a way for you and I to be a part of the fulfillment of the old law. So let's kind of get to that. My board's not big enough, so I had to have a supplemental whiteboard. I know I've got so many whiteboards. Anyhow, here's the passage. Matthew 5:19 through 20. Therefore, anyone who sets aside one of the least of these commands and teaches others accordingly will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever practices and teaches these commands will be called great. ... See, I didn't have enough room even with the extra. Oh my. They'll be called great. For I tell you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven. Pretty important last part to this passage, wouldn't you say? But I got my 3 points here, and so that's where we'll go. Oh yeah, we got to have our make it real thingy dingy, and so there you go. Make it real. How can we keep the old law? What I want to do with this passage is see it backwards, if you'll allow me. I want to take the climax first because it really helps us make application. I want to start out here with this idea that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, etc., you're not going to enter the kingdom of heaven. Surpasses. The real point of this passage is dealing with Pharisaicalism and the lack of internals matching up with the expressions of the externals. It wasn't that God was condemning or Jesus was condemning the externals. He was just saying you've got to make sure that there is a combination that's happening here from the inside out, and those two things have to go together. Don't know what that is. It may be thunder in the background, although it's a beautiful day. The Lord has given me punctuation. Where was I at? Oh, so your righteousness has to surpass that of the Pharisees. How in the world can that possibly be? You and I, the Old Testament tells our righteousness is like a pile of filthy rags. Where do we get our righteousness? Well, we get our righteousness from Jesus Christ, our obedience to the Lord, placing ourselves within His hands, and then we are able to have righteousness because of His righteousness, which is really the key to this particular passage. Motives are huge. That would be my make it real suggestion for this first point. The Pharisees and others, they seem to get off on these tangents of as long as I'm doing the right stuff, then everything has to be right. No, you got to do the right stuff for the right reason. Now, that doesn't eliminate the right stuff. It's just saying you've got to have a combination of the two. My suggestion: write the word motives on your bathroom mirror. You can take one of these whiteboard marker things like this right here. You can take one of these and it'll actually write on your mirror and you can erase it later. But write the word motives on your bathroom mirror. Leave it there for a week or two or a month, and remind yourself every day before you go out into the world, whatever, that your motives have to be correct. Start from the inside and work out. Number 2, moving backwards again, we got surpasses, then come back to great. He says that those folks who do practice and teach the right things, they are going to be great. We keep the old law through Jesus. Our participation in the life of Christ, submitting to it, is our fulfillment of the old law. He kept the old law, and therefore our submission to Him allows us to keep the old law as well, or bring it to fulfillment, if you will. Let me give you an illustration. A few days ago, I took Judah to a cafeteria line, and as we were going through, in order for me to keep my plates balanced and all that kind of thing, I put him on my neck. And so he's sitting on top of my neck, and we're going through the line. There were several rules about how you should go through this line and who should participate and all that kind of thing. And so I got the food and all that. No one questioned him. You know why? Because he's on my neck. He's up here. He fulfilled the rules of the line, how to get the food, who's allowed to get the food. He fulfilled it by being on my shoulders. We want to be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. We've got to be people who are sitting on the shoulders of Jesus, understanding that our righteousness comes because of our submission to Him. We fulfill the old law, not in that you and I do all the Levitical things that they did, in the Levitical code and all that. It's not so much that as it is that we submit to Jesus. He fulfilled the law for us. And then number 3, there's that rather sobering conclusion when he says, use the word least. Anybody who sets these things aside, the requirements to fulfill the old law, sets it aside, they're going to be least. But notice specifically he says, anyone who that is least, anyone who sets aside one of the least of these commands and teaches others accordingly. So they're not only setting it aside, saying it's not, the internals aren't really that important, it's just make sure you do the externals, but they're also teaching other people to value the externals over the internals, rather than having that combination of the two working together. Make a real suggestion. Take your little pen on another mirror, write the words, why, or the question, why do I go to church? It's just one illustration, but it will prompt, I hope, some thoughts in your mind over the coming week that will allow you to examine the internals. Why are you going? Why do you get up in the morning? One of your few days off. Why do you drag the kids out of bed? Why do you go to church? Examine the internals. In the process of identifying with Jesus, we identify with the fulfillment of the old law. How cool is that? Sonny Chow's, Matthew 16:26. Be there. We are the Sonny Chow's and Family Ministries, serving as missionaries to this great nation. Please pray for us and consider adding us to your missions giving.